Fantastic. Well, I think a great panel that has both informed us and challenged us this afternoon. And now it's your turn. Before I have you go back to some little voting exercises, you were given some note cards. And what I'm going to ask in order for us to keep this a bit organized, and I promise you I'm going to give you a break right after this, so don't everybody leave just yet. But what I'd invite you to do is jot a question down. If you have a question for any one or all three of these ladies, jot a question down and pass them to the outside. I think Pete is going to be on one side, Craig's going to be on the other, and they're going to be collecting some cards and then helping to ask or answer those questions. As we get started, I guess, and you guys have your microphones, is that correct? Craig and Pete, you have your microphones, is that right? Fantastic.
We do.
All right. We do. Good. Are there any questions from the audience as we get started? There's one. Oh. Just pass your questions to Pete or Craig, either one. If you want to.
Okay, thank you.
We can sure enough. Yeah, fire away. He's going to get his eyeglasses on. No?
I love that post.
Go ahead, Pete. You have one?
Yep. What can an individual do to help grow our industry?
I got it.
Hello. So, individual, if you are a member of a club, if you have a stable, if you have a trail ride group, whatever, you can host a time to ride event. You just simply hop online, register as a host, and then put together a plan to reach newcomers. Some of the most successful events that were held in the past years where a gal took her horses, a horse or two, to a farmer's market. There's your target market, mom, healthy, those kinds of things. They ended up signing up, 1,000 people and grew their business to where they could put a new roof on their barn. So it takes the ability to want to do that. I realize so many of you have large operations and you may not be interested in outreaching that way, but if you can partner or collaborate, if you've got a nice hunter barn and you've got a relationship with a little up-down barn, create a method for you to share that business. You see the NFL players going to the sandlots. We have to have that same kind of circle of sharing and information in business.
I'd like to add one thing to that. Last year in the Marketing and Membership Committee, we spent about 30 minutes just sharing stories about how we got involved in the industry and how our first experience, Kevin asked that polling question earlier, what our first experience was with horses. And there's a lot of power in telling your story. It may not seem like a big deal to you, but if you're talking to the right people at the right time who are looking for something to do with their family and their grandkids, there's really a lot of power in telling your horse human story.
That's great. Yeah, did you have a comment, Kim?
I'd also like to say that, if you're at a show and you see somebody new there, help them out. If they look like, they have a question, help them. That's what we've got to do.
It's the equine arrogance disease that,
there we go.
Again,
exactly what Patty was talking about.
I think that's right.
We've got to help everybody. We've got to make them feel invited.
Yeah, it's a good point. Another question, Craig.
Yeah, I've got several here for Patty. How do we get time to ride in Canada, in the Midwest, and how can youth that can't take money for fear of not making it on the college team participate in time to ride as well without getting paid for it?
Well, that's a good question because I know they need to protect their amateur status, but they can do that through a club or organization, and the club or organization can raise funds and apply those winnings. And a lot of times we have tremendous partners, as you saw, so we have really great products that we share and that type of thing. In Canada, that's a good question for Jay and I, is that those will be next steps, but we're about all we can say grace over right now is the United States. That's no real excuse. But we invite you to take what we're doing. If you want to talk with me, we'll figure out a way that we can share, the things that we're learning and how you can build your own program. I hope that answered your question.
So Time to Ride can franchise to other parts of the
You betcha.
AQHA membership.
I
That's
don't see Jay shaking his head, so sure.
I've got enough.
Oh yeah, Jay reminded me. Can I add one thing? We added an association program which I was going to visit with independently at the committees. But we created an association program where you, as an association, small or large, can offer a secondary set of prizes to your members. So they enter the national contest where they're chasing $100,000. Then we will help them identify their own members and then give a secondary set of prizes specific to their members.
Wow. Pete.
I've got enough questions over here to go through tomorrow. It's good. One question, I think it's good. We talked about social media. Who do we contact at AQHA when we see negative or damaging social media?
She's sitting here in the front row. We have a social media. Jody Reynolds is our director of social, part of our web team and our director of social media. She handles our Facebook and Twitter, and you contact me and I can contact her. Just get in touch with anyone and they'll get you in touch with us, and we'll take care of it. But you have to remember, if it's on someone else's wall, we can't spend all of our time asking people not to say things. That's reality. And interestingly enough, that question leads well into the second panel, because we're going to talk a little bit.
I was going to say, let's let the panelists this afternoon address that a bit more, because that's going to be more of our focus. Great question. Craig, you got one, and then back to
Two-part
Pete.
question here,
Sure.
Kevin. How can AQHA appeal to both the ranching segment and pull the millennials who are so far removed from ranching? And two, what can we do about affordability? Affordability.
Great question. Kim, take a crack.
Well, the affordability part, I think that we can have these clinics and get in really high quality clinicians like the Stock Horse of Texas has done. Those clinics will only cost you about $125 a day. You get to go through all 4 events. And, that's not much to get to ride with world champions, I don't believe. The other thing is the clinics, and if we can lean on the ranchers to help us keep our ranching tradition, and maybe share that with these other people that are not ranchers, and try to stay true to our ranching heritage. That is going to be a big challenge, but I think that we can do it if we all work together on that.
I think, a lot of the things that I read about millennials, a couple of things that I think would appeal to millennials in this is, number one, millennials do want, they don't like fake and phony. They like genuine. And I think there is a genuine nature of the ranch horse competitions that is attractive to millennials. I think the other element is that, when we think of millennials, they want a sense of purpose. They want to be part of a cause. And I don't know, Lauren, you may want to address the whole cause marketing thing, but there's a lot of millennials that want to be part of cause. I don't know how you create this as part of a cause. I don't know if it's a cause for the horse or if it's what it is, but how we tap into that need to be part of something bigger than themselves, doing something more than just for themselves.
Yeah, I think it's exactly what you just said, and it's also what we talked about earlier. Women in general, and then you bring it down to female millennials, want to feel like what they're doing has a purpose and matters and is important. And so it's telling that story and repeating that message and reminding them that what they're doing makes a difference, even if it's something small, that every little bit helps.
Good. Pete.
This one's for Patty. What are you or the American Horse Council doing with the contacts that you're making? Are they being distributed to partnering organizations like ours?
No, they're absolutely not. The leadership of the American Horse Council's Marketing Alliance absolutely 100% believe that this is not a commercial operation. We learned through research, and better than anyone, that if you get spammed by anybody, it's an off, it's a delete. There's no more kind of even a medium time for people will read what you're doing. So we send them very friendly things, as I shared with you an ebook about what's next with horses or things about horses and send them to the Time to Ride site. But those are being carefully stored, and we're going to continue to survey that data. That's the information that you saw up there, where almost 78, I think, % of them have already either made an effort to re-engage with horses or plan to do that. So you will see on our site there is no commercial sales whatsoever on that site, because that will turn mom off, and we do not want to turn mom off.
Great.
I have one more. We've spent a lot of time discussing marketing to middle-class white families. What can be done in the area of ethnic marketing? Maybe we can talk a little bit about racing and the scope of ethnicity that is in the racing area, but also in our riding competition areas.
And also to go with that, Lauren, over here on this side, part of that is like what in the survey, a lot of women, moms are being targeted. Okay, what about guys? What's our plan for targeting
Are we
guys?
chop liver or what, guys? I mean, oh, just kidding. Good point.
Boy, those are two pretty big questions, right?
Those are
there.
big questions.
Jeez. I think there are obviously two parts to it. Being more welcoming in general and being more interesting to other groups of people will bring other people in. But sometimes you are what you are. And so in racing, there is definitely an opportunity. We've been doing more race marketing where we're translating things in Spanish. We've got our racing aces, and I know we've got some Spanish-speaking racing aces. We know that that's a very important area. You know, the mom thing, really, we're not necessarily 100% targeting only moms and moms with kids, but what the survey data showed us is that we know we're already women. So we're looking at a gap in our female membership, an age gap. So it's just one group right now that we're looking at bringing in that we're missing. And our goal, obviously, would be is that we bring in those moms and those kids, and then dad gets involved too, because you heard Patty talk a little bit about that. Dad needs to fix the truck. So.
Yeah, Patty and Kim, what else would you say relative to those two questions?
I want a Chato class in the ranch versatility and shot.
A what?
A Chato class.
Chato.
Chicho, you out there? Those of you know the incredible Chatos that the Mexican culture has, and for us to invite
Capitalize on
them
that.
to participate in some form or fashion would be fantastic.
Great idea.
Because they're riding beautiful American quarter horses.
Great idea. Kim.
Well, we see lots of parents and kids showing in shot, and I think we're going to see more because and bringing their grandkids now, like Patty's doing, and I think we're going to see a lot more of it. It's, you know, like I say, part of them are riding the same horse in different classes, different divisions, so I feel like we will see a lot more of that, and we do need Dad along so he can drive and pay the bills and help us, you know.
Dad needs to be back home paying the bills.
Yeah, that's what my husband always did. He stayed home and worked so we could go.
So you could go have fun.
Yeah.
That's the proper role. I get this. Hey, I know we have some more questions. We're going to have to, because we're running really short on time. I don't want to put AQHA in a bad spot. I'm presuming we're going to capture these questions, and I'm assuming that we're going to have a discussion about how we might respond to these questions so that folks that have attended and others might be able to get some questions asked. We're also going to have another opportunity this afternoon for the broader panel. But this is a great problem to have. We didn't know if there'd be one question or 101 questions, and we just really thank you for being engaged. Before I let you go on a break, we want to get your, would you join me first of all in giving a big round of applause to our first set of panelists today. Great job. And before I let you go on a break, let's just go through a couple of questions relative to the current state of the horse industry, get your opinions. First question we want to ask you is, after hearing what you've heard and given your experience in the horse industry, what do you perceive as the greatest threat to the future growth of the horse industry? Is it this cost issue? Is it access to land and a place to put them? Is it the exclusionary culture or the arrogance that Patty was talking about? Is it real or perceived animal welfare issues that keep people from the horse industry? General economy? the urbanization and loss of rural population in general, or is it competition from other sports and activities? If you just had to pick one, I know that's a tough list, what would you select? About 200 people surveying and a few more. All right, we're going to close it up. 47% of you said it was a cost issue. And again, something that does cost some money to get involved in this industry. I think that's, it's interesting. I'm doing the strategic planning process right now for National Swine Association, National Swine Registry. And for those of you who may or may not be involved in swine industry, I'll tell you what, that's a group, there's a lot of kids showing hogs these days. And I think one of the reasons is it's a limited cost of ownership. I mean, you can get a lot of money wrapped up in hogs, but not near as much as a show steer or a horse. And secondly, there's a limited commitment. If I want to show a market hog, I've got a 3 or 4 month commitment, and then the hog's gone, the chores are gone, we still go off skiing and do our thing, and people can go ahead and with the rest of their lives. So it's an intriguing issue what we're seeing in other sports, particularly as I say sports activities, particularly as it relates to youth. What's the biggest barrier to overall participation? So the last question was more about involvement. This is about true participation in equine activities. Again, is it a cost issue? So I've got a horse, but I'm just not really engaged with my horse. I'm not participating. Cost issue, is it a general strength of the economy? I'm encumbered by the skill level. I don't think I've got the skill to compete. I just don't have time to go do that stuff. The culture, I don't feel welcomed or appreciated when I go. I feel like I have to cheat or drug my horse or do something I'm not willing to do. Maybe I'm just don't have access to horses or riding stables at all. You guys are doing a great job voting. Excellent job voting early. All right, we're going to close it up. 48% of you, again, say this is a cost issue. 20% of you, interestingly, said, again, competition for time with other sports and activities. We're busy people, and one thing that I think is true versus some of us in the room that are a few years older is that when we were younger, you could participate in 3 or 4 activities, and now it seems like you got to focus on one activity and be the best at it and commit all your time to it, and it really dissuades a level of diversification. I've seen that in our own kids at times. Now, this is an opportunity to select 3. So you get to select your top one, and then immediately select your second one, and immediately select your third one. If you had to rank the top 3 opportunities for growth in the horse industry, what might they be? Lowering the cost of entry, attracting younger members, new innovative activities, exciting events to do with your horses, encouraging current horse owners to just become more involved, adding more options to attract retired people, a demographic we haven't talked a lot about today, creating equine activities in urban and suburban communities, bringing those activities to people in the population centers. Select 3. It will aggregate the results. All right, looks like we've got a little over 200. So, with the results aggregated, again, cost of entry, attracting these younger members. We heard some pretty compelling evidence relative to what's been happening with youth. And then in a more distant third, it looks like creating activities closer to where the population is in urban areas. Okay. Top 3 best methods. I'm awful close to a break now. Top 3 best methods for stimulating interest among people to get involved with horses. Get them to equine events. Create different experiences equine events. Reduce the financial obligation for participation in equine events. Encourage and equip horse enthusiasts to recruit family and friends. Take a friend riding. Provide more visibility for the equine industry through traditional and social media. Attract people to horses earlier in their life. Or maybe there's something, we gave you another option. This was really hard to discern what answers we should give you. Select the top 3. 1, 2, 3, in that order. All right. So a smattering, something that you might suspect, but again, boy, we're hearing something loud and clear. This whole reduce obligation, financial obligation. Investing in programs that attract people to equine events. We also have it with 17% attracting people to horses earlier in their life, getting them hooked earlier. It's interesting, and it ties nicely to the millennial economy because, as many of you who have studied the millennials know, they're very much into sharing, aren't they? Whether it be this whole Uber economy that we've created, whether it be the instead of staying in the hotel, what are the websites? I have a buddy that leases his house. I'm sorry. Airbnb. Yeah, Airbnb. Have a buddy. He's 32 or 3. His wife actually performs with Kenny Chesney, and they have a house in Nashville and a house in Austin, and he rents his house out, in Nashville with Airbnb, and that's just, and he hardly ever stays at a hotel if he travels. He goes through Airbnb and stays at a hotel or another person's house, rents a room kind of thing. So this is a very different culture than most of us have grown up with, and that may be a way to engage people more. We wanted to ask a specific question about youth. What do you see as the biggest opportunity to reach more youth? How do we get at that people? We've seen a 26% reduction. You only get to vote on one this time. Which one would it be? A few more, 192. I'll wait for a couple more. Super. Late entries. So that feeds nicely into the discussion we have this afternoon about social media and how we connect. Maybe some more opportunities there, some more organized school events. But one neat thing about that answer you just shared, all of us have phones. All of us probably have social media accounts. All of us can be part of the solution to that problem. That doesn't necessarily require a humongous budget from the American Quarter Horse Association. Over the next 5 years, I believe the greatest opportunity for growth, specifically in the quarter horse business, is helping current quarter horse enthusiasts increase their involvement, re-engaging folks that had horses once, get them back into the horse business, attracting kids into the horse industry, attracting other business professionals that may have other hobbies and getting them convinced that, hey, instead of golfing, maybe skiing, you need to come in the horse industry. Creating opportunities for people to get involved with horses without horse ownership. What might be the biggest opportunity for us in the quarter horse business? All right, and I'm going to close it up now. So interesting. Again, we're seeing a great theme here, right? The 36% creating opportunities for those that to get involved with horses without a humongous financial obligation, followed by attracting kids, and those might go nicely together. And then the others are certainly a distant. What events and activities? We wanted you to get your perspective on specific events and activities that offer the most promise for increasing involvement. Is it traditional shows? Is it rodeo, racing, riding for pleasure? Ranch horse competition, play days, and open shows, or others. And I suspect this will have something to do with what we're most passionate about individually, but we wanted to ask the question, where do you see the biggest opportunities? If you're a business person brought in to say, let's grow the involvement with quarter horses, what events or activities do you think offer the most promise in today's day and age? One, super, and we're going to close it. Look at that, riding for pleasure and recreation. Again, very consistent with the market research, Lauren, that you shared, right? 56% or was it that many? 49% of folks do that. Followed by the ranch horse and play days, open days, both with about 20%. Traditional horse shows, not very far behind that at all with 13%. So a couple of opportunities to grow involvement. Well, guys, you have been very kind. Before you leave, let me make a couple of comments. I really appreciate you guys hanging with us with all these questions. I think it's going to be really instructive to get a bunch of thought leaders' opinions on some of these very issues, and will provide some great guidance for AQHA.